Brian woke to a soft whimpering that he hadn't heard before. It sounded like a wounded kitten. When he opened his eyes, he realized the sounds came from Madison. Sleep fell away from him in record timing as he sat up and tried to comprehend what caused her pain. Her eyes moved beneath her closed eyelids. They darted back and forth as she dreamed, and it sent fear straight to his heart. By the time he noticed her hand, blood ran down her fingertips. "Madison," he said. "Madison." He put his hands on her shoulders and gave her a shake. He called her name once more and heard a soft moan in response. He tried to impose his will on her. He sent wave upon wave of suggestive energy that he hoped would wake her.
"My hero,"
she whispered when she opened her eyes.
Shush.
Anger took him by surprise. He didn't know where it came from or why it gripped his soul and threatened to explode. He couldn't protect this beautiful woman as she lay in his bed. How could he protect her from outside the room? He flipped the covers back and got out of the bed. Without saying a word, he walked around to the other side and picked her up as if she were but a child. He carried her to the bedroom that she so gallantly helped him reach only hours before. His back no longer held any signs of the traumatic experience he'd lived through the day before. Each time she started to say something, he just shook his head. He feared that the rage in him would unleash on her, and he couldn't live with himself if it did. He set her down on the counter and ran warm water in the sink. She looked at him with an odd expression but didn't speak. With a gentle touch, he cleaned her hand and wrapped it with gauze he found in the medicine cabinet. The sight of her pink, raw skin kept him in a constant state of animosity at an unseen enemy that he could not fight. She made him want to break things, to smash them with his bare hands.
"You're back,"
she exclaimed. Just as he'd inspected the damage from her hand, she hopped off the counter to observe his back. He ignored her inquest into his health and said, "We start your training now." Without waiting for her to respond, he helped her down from the countertop and gripped her hand. He led her from the bedroom suite and sought the ones who could train her.
"Uriel."
Brian bellowed as they reached the living room. It only took moments before all the occupants of the house arrived in response to his outburst. The only one who showed traces of sleep regarded them with a look of confusion. "Teach her how to exit a dream now," Brian commanded. Madison had remained quiet up until that point, so much so that Brian had begun to wonder if the dream had traumatized her.
"Mastema brought me to hell for a meeting."
In an instant, what had begun as confused silence erupted in chatter between everyone involved. Through the side conversations, Brian deduced that no one had any idea how to pull oneself from a dream. They were all quite far out of their league when it came to actual knowledge about dreams.
"How did you get out this time?"
Kennedy asked. She hadn't conversed with the others and appeared far lost in thought. Madison held up her hand.
"I knew if I was in pain, Brian would know and protect me."
His heart soared at her words in a way that which couldn't be explained. The light that he carried within him flooded through his veins along with blood that kept him alive. Oh, but how she blessed him with her words.
Is anyone else weirded out that Wing Boy is glowing?"
Vivian asked. Brian's focus snapped toward her in confusion. He brought his hand to his face and could not dispute her words. His skin shone bright against the dimly lit room.
"Is that normal?"
Madison asked.
For an angel, yes.
Something about the way Michael worded the statement gave Brian pause. He had spent lifetimes as an angel, and he couldn't recall a single time he had the ability to glow in the dark.
"But?"
Madison asked.
Not guardian angels.
Michael said. Brian would ask him what he meant later. For now, the conversation should have little to do with him and more to do with Madison.
She needs to learn to exit her dreams so, in the future, she has control over when and where they take her. Well, she can't keep destroying her hands.
Kennedy began.
What other things wake a person up? Pain only worked in moderation because she's both used to pain in her sleep and Brian woke her up. Loud noise. Blinking. I read somewhere if you rapidly blink in a dream, you'll wake up. Something about it forcing your mind to accept the dream state as opposed to reality.
Blinking? Brian asked with no small amount of disbelief.
The glowing man disputes blinking can wake someone up. Why don't you try it, oh skeptical one?
Kennedy challenged. Brian would have loved to take her up on the offer, not to prove her wrong, but in the hopes of sparing Madison the ordeal of testing the theory. The only problem was he'd never experienced a dream before.
What do you say, Brian? Want to give it a try? I can rest your mind enough for you to fall asleep.
Michael offered. Did Michael dream? Had the veteran angels succumbed to the human's ability to live vicariously through nighttime adventures? Could all angels dream? I don't dream,
Of course you dream, you just don't remember them.
Kennedy said with a dismissive flick of her wrist. No, really. I've never had a dream. Through the narrowed eyes and furrowed brows of the faces that gazed at him, he assumed the response stood to be the exception more than the rule of all species.
So you glow, and wouldn't know a wet dream from a nightmare.
Madison's mother looked at him with a strange expression, and he had the vaguest feeling her words were more an insult than an observation.
Mother.
Michael seemed to grasp Brian's impatience with the current subject, because he asked,
Madison, are you up to trying again?
"Absolutely not," Brian stated.
Yes.
Madison said at the same time he could tell by the quick flash of her eyes she didn't appreciate his words. "Forgive me for overstepping imaginary boundaries, but tonight you were trapped in a dream and had to slice through the back of your hand to escape it. I will not stand by while you endanger yourself for the sake of trial and error."
We're going to have to work on your communicating skills if we're going to date.
Madison said before she turned toward Kennedy.
Blinking it seems so simple.
Again, her words gave him more pleasure than he knew what to do with, even as they overrode his opposition to the proposed plan. Madison and Kennedy carried on the conversation, and Brian started one of his own. "Dearest Almighty Father, I would never dream of pledging my unworthy offerings, but that won't stop me from begging you to guide Madison to the knowledge to help her break free from the bondage of her dreams and learn to control them." He prayed silently. When he broke free from his prayer state, the gaze of everyone in the room bore through him like laser beams. He took a step back, confused at the varied expressions they all wore. Vivian looked at him with a frightened expression. All four archangels stared at him with different degrees of curiosity. Kennedy's open mouth and widened eyes displayed shock, and Madison appeared worried. "What?" Brian asked.
What were you just doing?
Michael asked. I asked him to help Madison find a way to control her dreams. For a moment, no one said a word, just continued to stare at him like he'd grown horns on his head or spouted 6 arms. The sensation reminded him of the day he'd been called down before God to answer for the choices he made. As he walked, everyone stared and then made a swift motion of turning their back. His friends, his trusted companions all shunned him. Brian hated being stared at. "What?" He barked with a bit more bite than he intended. Vivian cast a glance that he both questioned and understood. He wondered at the glint in her eye, but understood that she would turn the conversation away from him.
The golden glowing man is not the topic today. My daughter is, as it stands, although I'm quite curious if blinking works. My grandfather has a ring of awakening which will probably be easier to use.
Vivian said as she sat down on the sofa.
So, is it like an evil ring from hell?
Kennedy asked. Vivian sighed and turned toward Kennedy.
It is from hell, but that doesn't mean it's evil. It can be used for many purposes. Well, Madison darling, would you like to see where your other family comes from?
What? She wanted to take her to hell, over his dead body. "You can't be serious," he asked.
She'll be perfectly safe.
Vivian assured him.
I'd like to go.
Madison said in her calm, cool way that let him know further interference would not be appreciated. "Then I'm going to," Brian stated in a firm voice.
Ah, so very sweet. However, suicide is just not a good gift to give a girl you are interested in, Brian. Try flowers. You'll get much further in life.
Vivian said. He didn't like the idea of Madison running off to hell one bit without him. He found it unacceptable and frustrating, though he could tell by the look in her eyes that she couldn't wait to leap into the literal frying pan. This did not sit well with him.
Learn when to pick your battles, Brian. You can't win this one.
Uriel said as he put a hand on Brian's shoulder. "I will stand outside the portal until you return." Brian said. Madison appeared confused at his words, and Vivian explained,
By portals is how we travel, my darling, through portals to hell.
Who gets to say they've been to hell and back in their life, and mean it?
Madison laughed. Women.